So I'm making a vegetarian chili with 3 beans that were grown in Vermont by this woman who we tried to connect with. I drove up to this co-op in northern Vermont where she sells them, and I picked up 10 pounds of beans maybe. The history has kind of been lost to time, but they're like old Maine heritage beans.
Yeah, I've loved all the soups that we've had. I've had so many, I forget the names of them, but it always has to be homemade. So that's what's so great about this, all homemade soup. Otherwise, I wouldn't eat soup out of a can.
I actually really enjoyed making this turkey stock last week. There was this turkey leftover from the freezer that's been there for weeks, and then I forgot what I put in it, but then the second we tasted it, it actually tasted like something that I've eaten as a kid at home. And I almost cried because it's like that moment in Ratatouille where that food critique goes inside his own head and sees memories. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. I love it. Like, you know the emoji with like the glassy eyes?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like that face, and I loved it.
I usually eat soups anyway, but I usually just eat ramen noodles and just the cheap stuff. So this is probably like extending my lifespan by a few years and helping with my sodium content and everything.
That's what I love most about it. It's soup that I would never have thought of eating or had a chance to have.
Brings me a lot of joy to just open the freezer and see the whole variety of what's in there and all the, you know, the range of like international influences that are in there.
I come from a country where we do eat a lot of these things. I realize that here people don't really eat like oxtail, pig's feet, chicken feet, but back home it's a huge thing. Like that's what most people would have in their soups. So it wasn't like a learning curve, more so a learning curve for others, where I was teaching them how to cut certain parts of the meat, or like to cut up a whole chicken as well.
I feel like that's kind of the point, is to find ingredients that some other people would probably not use and find connections and something that we can get either for free or very cheap, and specifically from local sources that will be well raised, if that's meat, and vegetables too. It's like well grown.
So the pea soup is like very traditional to Dutch culture. And so it's been nice because we've all, same with the plantain soup, we've all been getting the opportunity to really also explore cooking from home and share that with people. And I think it's a way that, yeah, it brings people together. So I'm glad to hear you guys have really been enjoying that.
I first got interested in taking this class because of the slow cooked movement that happened over winter. Preparing meals from locally sourced farms for the entire community. In this process, I wanted to take Yoko's class, and this class specifically because I knew that we were going to be working on something that is community engaged. And then one class, Yoko mentioned that B&G workers were not allowed to eat in dining hall anymore.
It's kind of sad not being able to eat in the dining hall anymore, so you kind of feel disconnected from everybody.
Dan, can I grab you for a sec?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
With all the difficulties that we've all faced together, you know, to know that there's a sense of community and everyone's caring. And so we don't always get to work with students, we don't always get to interact with students, but we could all eat together, you know, and so you might strike up a conversation with someone at any random time. And that fell apart with COVID because we had to separate ourselves in order to keep everyone safe.
And then presentation has been amazing too. You know, the decoration of the refrigerator, it's just sort of livened up the whole experience there.
We did that as like an activity in the class. We just wrote the notes about like what we're doing and just like saying thank you to them in our own different ways, and we just then put all those notes onto the fridge.
And so the soup kind of has been like a certain sense of, you know, we care and we still can share food.
We can engage with farmers from all across Bennington County and beyond. And we can engage with staff that we don't necessarily know as well as we should, and really get to know them and appreciate their work a little better.
In this world that's so corporate and it's always about making so much money, and I think when you come in and you say, listen, we want to do something that focuses on changing the local foodscape, but that also focuses on filling each other's bellies and kind of building community, I think it kind of comes back to you. You know, I told him, I was like, we're willing to buy $25 worth of cheese. He was like, just take it. Don't even give me the money. Like, it's all yours. Because the thing is a lot of these people and a lot of these farmers, they love their jobs. And a lot of people don't express interest or care in the way that they should. And I think in doing that, they also kind of want to give back. So it works both ways and they help each other.
Yeah, so I've just got the emergency onion that we ran out of onions and weren't able to get anymore, so I'm just putting it in because you can't have chili without onion. Some jalapenos that, where did they actually come from?
My other class students who were leaving house and she had a bag, so she dropped it off.
Some buying directly from farmers and also sort of gleaning from whatever donations people can bring in or leftovers that people have.
So these are ramps. We found these in town. We found a humongous patch. And this morning, Jackie, Jake, and I went out for about 3 hours and walked the whole area in which we found. Since we ran out of onions, we did a lot of research on how to sustainably forage for them, and usually you want to stay away from taking away the bulbs, but if you do need to take the bulbs, you need to make sure that you're being very spread out about how you're picking them.
The biggest values of the soups that we are making is that we rarely waste any ingredients, even things like scraps and bones. We reuse things or make sure that our trash bag is as empty as it can be, and everything that we can compost, we compost. Just how sustainable this class tries to be and how much it's supporting a community economy through also doing something positive for the same community.
You know, it takes more work than just going to the supermarket to find local ingredients, so we've taken a little bit of that trouble out of it and are able to just, you know, bring the local food directly to people. Feels really good to know that you're eating local food, and I think it tastes better too. I don't know if that's just placebo, but
before doing this class, I didn't know that you can make soup with scraps. And you can. You just roast it in the oven with some spices and then make a stock out of it, and then you can use it for any soup. Like, in my opinion, it's a really beautiful way to complete the cycle of nature and using most parts of the food.
And it's delicious.
It is very delicious.
I firmly believe that the kitchen is a space in which you get close to people very, very, very quickly. And I think especially with the kitchen, when we name a purpose for it, being, you know, we had this project.
Like, I'm in both of Yoko's classes, so I'm here, you can say, every day. So I guess that's where like the bonding comes in, because we have to spend so much time like out of class coming in to make soup.
I'm the kind of person that likes to find the best way to like balance off what everyone else is doing. So I'll just jump in wherever I'm needed. And that's been really great here because a lot of people have been just taking initiative, doing their own things, but I still get to see everyone's work. And it's really lovely to like feel, even if it's in a small way, like I'm helping out with everyone's individual things.
Yoko's sort of facilitated that kind of environment where, you know, we come in, we sit down at the table together, we eat together at the table, we discuss things for class, kind of like a family situation, which is kind of dope.
On Mondays when we have our session, our class session, we get really hungry, and by the end when we like start eating, you can see how people are like different when they're hungry and then when they're like well fed.
So it does feel like home away from home. Also amazing food, and you'll get to taste it.
If you put in a food processor, it's probably faster, maybe, but I like this kind of like the way to pay attention. And sometimes you can do a better job by hand.
So I work a lot in B&G and I meet everyone every day, and seeing just how much they care about the students here, I think has been the greatest motivation for why I want to make soups, you know. And I think this class, like, we all share that, since we know that, you know, B&G supports us so much. And yet during COVID, they weren't allowed to have the most basic thing, which is to eat in the dining hall.
Finding the time to come in, to prep, to cut ingredients, and like throw everything into the slow cooker, to come back hours later to like portion the soups and then to drop the soups off. So I do think it's like a, you know, very individual sort of process.
Sort of try to expand my personal work as a senior into like community engaged things. I'm tired of just theory. I want to finally do things that are practical and actually make a small change or a big change, but like start off doing projects that are actually plausible and happening and actively helping people's lives around me.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that people kind of understand what's gone into it and like, yeah, just the like love and creativity that we've all put into it.
After we just made soups week after week, we tried to get more funding, and Yoko managed to secure $250 in order to make 250 soups. And I think we probably made more than 250 soups. And it's really crazy because it's pretty much very similar ingredients in every soup. It's just how you mix and match it, it's how you prepare it before you put it together that really makes each one of these soups like really special.
Food is a thing that brings all of us together. Being able to make meals and share it with the people who are not just in my community but are also taking care of my community is something that I really, really appreciated, and it was probably the best thing I took out of this whole experience.